All right, let's talk about the curves palette. And by default, we have our old curves and also the new ones. The old curves are pretty cool, really intuitive, easy to use, versus the new ones are a bit more cumbersome. Right, so I can just drag it out and draw some kind of shapes outside. Then if I click enter, it will get committed to the sphere. And I think I'm a bit of a high poly count, so it gets pretty high. Then I can go and say fill inside. It will allow me to create some complex organic shapes. And if I press middle mouse and drag the curve points outside, I'll get more complex shapes, have complex profiles and surfacing, which is quite cool. I'm trying to catch one of the points. So turn it off. If I want to, I can make this, if I click right click, I'll make it bigger or smaller. I have to right click and drag. Then if I drag out with the left mouse, I will be able to build up new curves outside. Then if I go into the sharp segments, I will be able to do, and it's like bugging out on me right now, sharp segments, it can build this really sharp stuff. It could be a frame for a robot, could be a frame for a vehicle. Let me undo. If I click on the brush along the curve and then I go into the spline, spread it around here, and I click one of these guys, we then can create this wiring all around. And you can switch between. And if I don't want that stuff, I need to click remove profile and to remove it. Then I have surface snap, it will just snap to the surface. Sharp segments, symmetry snap, it will snap in the middle of the symmetry. And then you can save these guys into a file and then load them up into a scene. It can get pretty handy. So the text tool is kind of the same as the curve. So I can drag it out. I can right click, make it smaller and bigger. And you can see you can curve it around if you want to curve it. And we can type whatever we want into this box, change the fonts, whatever we have there, and hit enter and it will get committed to the layer. So when I click on the tube array, it will activate the new curves. So before I go and talk about the tools, we need to just talk about the curves interface because it's a huge overlay on top of the old 3D codes. It's powerful, but also really cumbersome and a bit foreign, feels quite foreign to 3D code. So first of all, you get that palette at the top, and when I click to draw, I will click on one of those icons and I start to draw the curve. Once I start drawing it, the curve will appear in the curves tree. So we have the Sculpt tree panel, and then we have the curves tree panel, and it has all our curves there. If I want to go and pick it up, I just click on them. I have to switch from the curve creation to curve pickup, or I can pick up here. Then we can pick up the points, and the behavior of the points is different from the old curves. So here, left mouse drag it, not middle mouse drag it. Then these are the curves creation buttons there. I can create like a really linear curve. Then the ones I've been just using like a smooth curve, and then we have a Bezier curve, which allows you to modify the points. If I right click and make them different, right? Make them smooth, angulated, and all that. Then I have like kind of like a lasso drawing tool, so I can free draw the curve. Then we have an eraser. It allows us to erase parts, and then each individual part will become itself and a curve. Then I have a pen tool, which allows me to create these circles on top of the surface. Then I have this slice tool, which if I drag across the surface, it will create me a curve. This can be actually quite powerful and really useful in certain applications. Then I have just a circle tool, which I can modify then in this palette and change the different options. Then just a rectangular, bunch of standard tools. Then I have a smudge tool, so I can move around and smudge the stuff. And also kind of like smudge where you use the brush. We can use a big brush to move the stuff around. And can be more creative when I use this tool. And then we have the apply symmetry tool, because symmetry doesn't actually work by default. If you turn on the symmetry and start drawing shapes, it will not get symmetrical. You have to actually apply the symmetry. So after this brief introduction, let's draw a curve. Just do a simple smooth curve. And let me do it from like a orthogonal view without symmetry, so I can get a more balanced look, and still didn't really do it super balanced. It's like slightly moved. Anyway, so if I click on the one of the models here, and I have to first right click on the curve, around the curve, and say attach tube a models array, right? So then we have, and this is where it gets confusing, that we have to click right click to get an extra option box, and then go here and pick this stuff. And then we have our options on the left. We want to modify it in different ways and play around with that. It's pretty easy. Then if I click on bend volume, and it kind of says you that it's not really a tool. You still have to click on right click on the curve somewhere around the curve, and hopefully okay, now I clicked on that, and I say bend volume, and it will try to bend around this thing using the sphere. And then I can move these points around. I need to switch to point clicking thing and move the stuff around. Since the object is pretty heavy, it's all pretty slow and looks a bit bizarre. I'm not sure what's the best usage case of this bend volume thing, but that's what it does really. Let's then do Swep along guide. So let me draw a curve. So it'll be like a frontal one. This will be one profile, then I go from the side and just draw another one. And then I have to right click, because it will not actually work from here. I have to right click and go Swep profile on the guide curve. And then here I can modify and pick different curves and change the look. So yeah, using a profile to build some kind of shape. This one, again, probably not as useful as other ones down the line. Then we have rotate surface, and it gives a pretty good explanation about what it is doing. So if you want to go and read all about it, it is there. And again, right click somewhere outside the space, find where it starts to give you the menu, create rotate surface, click on one of them, and then you can start modifying, and don't forget to switch between the menus there, so I can move the stuff around, modify the shape, and build essentially what's usually called a loft surface. Useful for vases and kind of anything that revolves around the axis. It's good for. Let's pick a polyhedron, and again right click, create polyhedron, and then click on some of the curves. A bit of a mystery for me what it does, honestly. You can create some shapes, you can change the amount of faces, so it can be pretty angulated or almost like a tube. Well, if I move that stuff around, we'll eventually get some tube, but hard for me to understand what it is for, so let's move on to the really important parts. So here I tried to use a Swep to guide curve, And unfortunately, that just didn't work out. And I spent maybe an extra hour trying to figure out the issue. So whatever I do, I'll get some profiling, but it just doesn't look any good at all. And so it doesn't really behave in any common sense. I'll get back to this maybe later, even though I have the latest 3-core version. It looks like these curves are not behaving as they used to behave a few months ago. It's a bit unfortunate, but I have to leave uh, the Swep to guide, Swep to generic, and Swep and generic uh, generation curves for the future videos.